all we're gonna do is take a look at some articles and tweets from different people in the hockey world because it provides us a narrative that I think is very, very interesting to talk about. So, without further ado, let's head over onto New Jersey hockey now and talk about the latest article published by James Nichols in regards to the Devils and one forward, Tyler Toffoli. Because it turns out that the Devils' current intention is to extend the $4.25 million UFA to be. Now, this is an interesting conversation because Tyler Toffoli, of course, is a pretty good player. I think everybody recognizes that he has been a lot better the past few years than he's ever been in his NHL career. His days in LA were pretty good, so were his days in Vancouver and Montreal, albeit in a limited capacity. And then with the Calgary Flames last year, Toffoli had 73 points in 82 games played. This season he's at 42 points in 58 games, on pace for about 59 total points, which would be better than every single year he has had, aside the 73-point season from last year. Tyler Toffoli, for all intents and purposes, has been a strong hockey player. And even though he's 31 years old, and he's on a New Jersey Devils team that really has not been great, it seems like the Devils' newest acquisition from the Sharangovich deal is indeed somebody that they want to bring back. And this article, which will be linked in the description, goes out there and talks about it. On the latest Insider Trading segment, TSN analyst Darren Dreger explained that although Tyler Toffoli is garnering interest with the NHL trade deadline just 10 days away, the Devils prefer to keep him in their future plans. They could trade Toffoli, but that's not their intent, Dreger explained. They prefer to extend Toffoli because they've already engaged, at least in some degree, in extension talks with his agent Pat Brisson. And why wouldn't you? This guy has 25 goals, and you can see him as part of their future. The predicament is they're a non-playoff team right now. I believe that the New Jersey Devils are going to take the next 3 games out west to deeply analyze their team, and as you get closer to the trade deadline, if they feel they're not playoff worthy, then perhaps they explore some of the interest that they're getting in Toffoli as a pending free agent. Furthermore, this article then explores how General Manager Tom Fitzgerald met with New Jersey media earlier and said that he likes Toffoli and intends to keep him as a part of their future plans. With Tyler, I've had multiple conversations with his agent. I think we're probably going to sit down here at some point before the All-Star break and potentially in the break just to see where he's at. What's he thinking? Where's he at? And then we'll talk about it if there's a marriage here moving forward. I like Tyler Toffoli, and I think he's been a really good ad for our team because of his professionalism and his winning pedigree. But it is a business. So, this is the scoop from the New Jersey point of view. That even though Tyler Toffoli may be a player UFA to be that's getting calls, people are asking about him, the Devils themselves are saying, hey, we kind of want to keep this guy. We'll see, but we want to keep him. He's a pretty good player. Which is where we go out there and talk about some of the extra ideas tossed out there. Because, responding to this article, there are a few extra things that were posted online. Andy and Rono tweeted this out. The Devils would like to extend Toffoli per James Nichols. He's a very good top 6 winger in our eyes, but it's not going to be easy for New Jersey to renew his contract. Toffoli likely knows that this next contract will be his last big one. And he's been a pretty good player, 67 percentile wins above replacement in the NHL this season, and one of the best transition players in the league. High danger chances, shot contribution, high danger assists. He has been very good in these categories. And then on the power play, he's also been a very, very effective player. But the big idea that I thought was so gosh darn interesting that made me want to make this video was an idea posted on Sportsnet 650's Twitter account. It was a clip from Dan Riccio and Satir Shah's Canucks Central episode from yesterday. And the tweet is pretty simple. I think the Vancouver Canucks would like to add somebody who can score with more certainty than a Phil Kessel. Jake Guentzel makes sense. But does New Jersey make Tyler Toffoli available? And on the clip, Riccio and Shaw discuss the idea of a Tyler Toffoli reunion in Vancouver, and this is one of the things that I wanted to talk about because, as we have discussed in a video a few weeks ago, this would be one of my main ads. Like, I'm not Patrick Alvin, I'm not Jim Rutherford, I'm not a GM, I'm not an executive, I'm just a fan sitting in my bedroom making videos about these hockey players. But if Tyler Toffoli is available, And if the Vancouver Canucks are so desperate to get themselves a rental forward, an extra guy they can add in their top 6, then I think this should be the guy. Not that Jake Guentzel shouldn't be the guy, not that Phil Kessel is going to be the worst player in the world if you try to add him, but just that if you wanted to make that acquisition, I feel like Toffoli is in the realm of, yeah, I want this guy more than anybody else. And as we had talked about, this is not a brand new idea. We did make a video talking about Toffoli alongside of, I believe it was Casey Middlestad, about a month ago. But when you talk about the Devils' point of view, here's a tweet made by NJD Eric, so you could kind of see where this guy's fandom lies. But he tweeted this out in responding to the NHL Watcher tweet that pretty much went over the same Toffoli idea that we had talked about from the article. I lean towards trading Toffoli, but there are 3 options. 1, if Toffoli wants less than 4 years, trade him for a first. 2, if Toffoli wants 4 or more years, then extend him. And 3, trade him regardless, collect the first-round pick, and if he really wants to be a Devil, re-sign him in the offseason. Now, I will say that third idea is a lot more difficult to really guarantee. It rarely happens in the NHL, only in the few circumstances where you can guarantee that a player is super into your squad and he loves your organization, your fans, your team, your city, etc. Can you guarantee that this is going to be an option even? Like, not everybody can be an Antoine Vermette. Playing with the Arizona Coyotes, loving the Arizona Coyotes, getting traded to the Chicago Blackhawks, winning a Stanley Cup, and then immediately signing with the Arizona Coyotes afterwards in the offseason. Not everybody can do that. Toffoli, hey, there's no guarantee that he goes one way or the other. But from the Devils' POV, because this team has been so doom and gloom the past few weeks here, not that they're not talented, we can acknowledge that there are guys that are very good and young and going to be great, but when you got interviews like Kevin Ball going out there saying that all the pressure on the team is making things not really fun and unenthusiastic and unhappy, like, nah, that's not really a good vibe to be having there. Plus, everybody's talking about firing Lindy Ruff, and it's been super rough in New Jersey just in general. So when it comes to the idea of trading away Tyler Toffoli, sending him away as a rental for some team, if Vancouver is really intent on getting that done, I would love Tyler Toffoli to come back. Because if you think about it, this was one of the players that actually did mesh very well with Elias Pettersson. When Toffoli was in Vancouver, he had 10 points in 10 games played and 4 points in 7 games in the postseason. Now, if you remember, those 10 games that he had mostly were with the Pettersson line because Brock Boeser was injured to end off the 2019-20 year before it got shut down due to COVID. And so with Boeser out, you had Toffoli in that spot instead. In the playoffs, Toffoli was actually hurt himself, so Boeser came back and everything was all good, but then when Toffoli was back, it was a lethal 1-2 of right-handed forwards on this team in the top 6. So if you wanted to do something similar, you've got Lindholm, you've got Boeser, you've got Toffoli, and then you can rotate these guys around, see what goes on, and you don't need to force yourself to play Ilya Mikheyev over and over again. Now, we had already talked about how word was that Vancouver would not really want to trade away a first-round pick unless it's for a player that they know they can re-sign. They don't want to trade away a first for a rental like they did with Elias Lindholm. We already talked about it a few days ago. It doesn't really look all too likely that Lindholm is going to come back. But if the guy they're trading for is interested in re-signing, and if the Canucks can guarantee value from that player post-2024, 2025, then there probably is more incentive for them to move that first. And if Tyler Toffoli does want to end off his career somewhere in Vancouver, let's just say, then honestly, I'd be kind of on board, depending on what the dollar amount is. I mean, look, Tyler Toffoli may not be the fastest guy out there. He doesn't play with the best pace. Who knows how well he would excel under Tocchet's heavy forechecking system, but he plays pretty good defensive hockey. He plays well along the boards, he makes good decisions, and he can score a lot of goals. What more do you want? Especially since the last few years he's been better than he's ever been. I mean, 73 points is a career high for Toffoli, and he accomplished that just last year, at the ripe old age of 30 years old. So if you're a Vancouver Canucks fan, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about the entire idea brought up by Satyr Shah and Dan Riccio on Canucks Central as to whether or not you'd bring back Tyler Toffoli to the Vancouver Canucks from a trade with the New Jersey Devils. If you're a Devils fan, what is it that you want from Vancouver to make this trade go through? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. 99 and bye.